The next two speakers are going to be Marcel Gerritsen and Snehal Fulzele from those two organizations, and they are going to explain to us how banks and fintechs can, in fact, collaborate. Please welcome them.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
Do you need this?
All right. Thanks. A bit of an introduction to begin with, Marcel. Well, my name is Snehal. I'm the CEO of Cloud Lending. We are a cloud-based technology platform that offers a suite of products that automates lending operations. Our customers are a variety of lending institutions, including marketplace platforms, balance sheet, online lenders, and traditional finance companies such as banks. And we are providing tools for our customers and partners to really transform the borrower experience and realize their fintech vision. So, Marcel?
Yeah, Marcel Gerritsen for Rabobank. Rabobank is a cooperative bank, balance sheet total around 600 billion, 10 million customers globally. We're market leader in the Netherlands in SME lending. So we have 225,000 customers in the Netherlands on SME and provide 10 billion of loans every year. 45,000 employees, that's basically our coordinates.
Great. Well, I often say that, fintech is an evolution, not a revolution. The way I define fintech lending company or a platform is really an institution who is focusing on providing a superior and unique borrower experience and really emphasizing on, two key elements: automation of their processes, digitizing them, and so on and so forth, and data sciences. Now, if you consider that definition, our belief, meaning Cloud Lending's belief, is eventually all lending institutions, including traditional finance companies such as banks, will eventually become fintech companies. They will realize that borrower experience is the most critical element, and you will see more and more digitization in such institutions. When fintech, sort of came about over the last several years, with this transition, or the way I think about it is, traditional lending companies transitioning into becoming fintech companies. This transition will probably take several years, but obviously there is an exception to every rule, and we have examples of that. Rabo is one such leader who is leading from the front and showing how to adapt and be nimble like any other fintech institution and become a fintech themselves. So, here we are, and I would like to have this conversation today with you guys, and Rabo being at the center of it. So Marcel, I would love to hear your thoughts on what Rabo is doing as it regards to how they're launching the next generation of their online lending platform and almost becoming like a transition from being a traditional lender to becoming a platform.
Yes, happy to do so, of course. I think we started this journey a few years ago, 3 years ago. Maybe indeed show the next picture. So what we did in the bank very much, the banks are pretty traditional institutions. So we embarked on basically cultural change program, fully starting with agile, lean startup, lean methodologies in product development and in IT. So that was one big cultural change that we started with 3 years ago. We started moonshots, basically employees who start their own business in the bank to transform the old way of working into new ways of working. So that was one big change we did. Secondly, we digitized our lending process to a very high level. With us you can lend up to 1 million euros in 24 hours using a high-tech and a high-touch platform. We truly believe in points of sale in our strategy. Customers apply online or through their accountant. We use XBRL-based communication between our customers and us. That's, I think, where the Netherlands is very advanced compared to other countries in Europe. So we have an online lending platform using high-tech, high-touch. We do real-time lease with approval in 1 minute, up to 250,000 euro. So that's basically the second lever we started. And the third lever is the platform thought.
Sure.
And that's the picture that we want to talk about, I think, a little bit more in more detail.
Right. I mean, really, the slide up there says, you're transforming from a bank to a platform. Let's just spend some time on this particular thought, right? I mean, I think I would like to ask this question to you. What does it really mean for you to be a platform with a capital P? Would you mind just shedding some light on it?
Yeah. Now, I think as we have quite a high market share in the Netherlands in the SME lending space, we have, I think, 2 out of 3 corporates in the Netherlands banks with us. We are a community bank also, so we have a quite good set of parameters where we can become a magnet for any entrepreneur who needs money. And what we try to be is, well, sort of a booking.com for any entrepreneur who wants a loan. So the picture you see is that we aspire to become a platform, and we're going live with one product 1st of May, where this vision is implemented, which is basically what we call Rabo & Co. Customer comes to us for a loan. We give certainty of funds. We then ask the customer, do you want us to put part of the loan on the platform? And our private banking customers can then go on the platform and take up to 49% of the loan from the platform. So it's a hybrid lending platform, and we plan to expand that to other products in the next future also. So we want to be a platform for any entrepreneur who needs money. We have been in existence for over 100 years and have, I think, very good core skills in risk assessment, structuring. And that is what we want to put at work for other funders next to ourselves also. So in the end, we will be a party on the platform instead of a bank.
Understood, understood. So if I were to sort of summarize that, it's almost like, Rabo is saying, all right, we are a bank, a traditional bank, we have a branch, come to us, we will sell you something. Now that's one philosophy, it's traditional, it's legacy, to something Rabo is trying to turn to a platform where it will be extremely, almost like transformational and contextual borrower experience of what they're trying to provide. And what you're seeing on the screen is one such use case. We call that as a hybrid lending. So let's just talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Now, I think this picture, describes what I just said. So traditionally, entrepreneur comes to the bank and gets a loan from the bank, full stop.
Yeah.
And where we want to go to is that we provide other funding solutions, because entrepreneurs don't want to go to 5, 6, or 7 different platforms for their funding needs, but rather have one party to go to where they basically provide their data, or not even, because we have the data pre-filled or use it under the hood. and then use that data to do our risk assessment and also deliver that to our funding partners, of which we as a bank are one.
Should I actually, meanwhile, I just switched the slide here where you're talking about where we are going. So on the screen, you're seeing the future where Rabo is going, where they're turning away from being a very legacy and traditional bank to the next generation, platform. So I was watching, like all of you here, a bunch of presentations and keynotes through the day, and I pinpoint the one that Cabbage was talking about earlier in the morning. I think on one of the slides, Cabbage's CEO talks about the traditional banks and how, or what they're accused of, being, marred with legacy technology, slow to adopt, aren't as nimble as fintech, and such. And I look at Rabo, and I see a different side, really. I see something, a bank which is 200 years old.
Well, over 100 years, yeah.
Well, over 100 years old, and
Yeah.
they're as conservative a bank can get, and they are proceeding with something very, very unique. You obviously have heard a lot of stories where banks have partnered with fintechs, but here is an example of a bank who is trying to take the technology innovation head on and building something which is going to create a long-term value for them, because they are going to control the experience and the borrower. So I couldn't be more curious to hear from Marcel that how Rabo did really do this.
Yes, I think some of the ingredients are we already talked about. So again, as I said, banks are pretty traditional institutions, and we embarked on a change program under the leadership of our executive board, where I think innovation is at the heart of our institution. What we try to do is to try out with our customers on a continuous basis. So we pilot everything. So we talk to our customers on a daily basis, basically like fintech startups. So not thinking that we know what our customers want, but talk to them and work with them on a daily basis to develop. They try to crack everything or break everything we invent on a regular basis, and we release on new software that we use. So we don't have legacy software anymore. I think that's a big misconception in the banking industry, that banks only have legacy software. Well, we don't have any legacy software in the front office anymore. We do have legacy, I would say, in the back end, and that's what we're trying to solve also. But the fact that you have real-time software in the front end of your processes makes that you can build on a real-time basis, test on a real-time basis if your customers like the product. And we're working a lot with fintechs also on a regular basis.
Sure.
They learn us a way of working. We can help them in leveraging their product. So this is, I would say, very much a cultural change that we're going through. Not head office thinking, but continuously talking to customers if they like the product, and changing if they don't.
So extremely agile approach.
Extremely agile, yes.
Yeah,
like a fintech, and
a fintech. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and we do that very much on the edge of the bank. So we try to change the process at the heart of the bank, but the innovation is very much at the edge of the bank. So not outside the bank, not inside the bank, but at the edge of the bank, because that's where you can find the biggest speed increase if you position that well.
Sure. So obviously, to just complement that, you have a slide up on the screen that how Rabo is doing it. I still remember maybe like 16, 17 months ago when we had our first conversations with Rabobank, and the conversation, was about the fintech, where the industry is heading, and so on and so forth. We, demonstrated what cloud lending solution is all about in our platform, and then we realized that, so Marcel here sort of underwent some sort of a hibernation for a few months. And I was wondering what was going on. I'm sure that you were galvanizing the thought internally. Would you like to speak about the process, that how did you shore up the team? And I'm sure that the other banks in the audience must be facing the same issue. I think it would be very helpful.
No, happy to do so. Indeed, this was a pretty funny story, Snehal. We watched a webinar from Cloud Lending with a colleague about marketplace lending. And marketplace lending is pretty well known in the US. In Europe, it's, I think, increasing. In the UK, it's big. The rest of Europe is increasing. And basically, I watched the webinar and I sat quiet for an hour, talked to the colleague, said, should we quit? Or are we going to do this ourselves in the bank? And we decided the latter. And we started just do it. We started to do it, pilot deals.
Right.
Talk to executive board who really liked the idea of a marketplace lending platform in a hybrid manner. Sure. Because this really resonates with our cooperative structure also, where basically we were started by farmers over 100 years ago, the rich ones, funding the poor ones.
Sure.
And this is where the Rabobank Co platform came from. So we started to talk about this, pilot some deals, and from that created enthusiasm in the bank and in the market, especially from our branch network, who very much like the idea of matching supply and demand from customers on the asset side of our balance sheet with customers on the liability side of our balance sheet.
Right.
And that basically created a lot of energy in the company, and that helped the transformation that we're going through as we speak.
Absolutely. I mean, you seem like a bank of the future to me, and I'm sure that many more traditional finance institutions and banks will follow your suite. Let me just take a step back here. I'm sure that maybe, when you started this journey, you obviously had a bunch of options in front of you. This was the time when we had organizations such as Santander and Scotiabank partnering up with, let's say, Cabbage, JP Morgan Chase, partnering up with OnDeck for this SME lending space and so on and so forth. So you obviously had choices. You had choices. You're the 25th largest bank on the planet. Your choices to go out there and partner with some of the other fintech companies. I think I'll be very curious to know that why you decided to really own that platform, and what was the thought process behind it? How did you eventually sell that within the organization?
Yeah, I think Rabobank is an institution that has been quite innovative in the past on the payment side, on the lending side. And we have quite a strong view on what we want to do ourselves and what we want to build with others. It never came into our mind to partner with another institution because we definitely wanted to make this platform fit our, I would say, roots in the bank. Sure. And our view is that you can do that best if you do it yourself. But using software that has been that is flexible and can work with you and continuously adapt helps a lot. So we indeed incorporate our own credit underwriting policies into the platform as well.
Absolutely.
And that's what we very much like in our strategies.
Absolutely. So you're essentially focusing on what you're really best at, your underwriting and so on and so forth, and you partner with Cloud Lending to that effect. Totally understand. Well, we are sort of running out of time here, but when you have a grand vision such as what Rabo has, it almost becomes essential for you to own the most critical elements, which is really, borrower, the relationship, and the borrower experience, and that's what Rabo is trying to achieve, but at the same time not losing sight of the bigger vision of becoming a platform, again with the capital P. So very, very exciting. Thank you, Marcel, for sharing that story.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great, thanks.